Hi, my name is Kim Cullen, and I'm a personal injury attorney in Winter Park, Florida. I am here today with a good friend and colleague of mine, Frank Itzen, and we're going to talk about workers' compensation law in Florida. How are you doing, Frank?
Doing well, thank you.
Frank, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
So, born and raised in Orlando, been practicing workers' comp since 1989. Believe it or not, I know the gray hair doesn't show it, but 30 years in Central Florida, and my practice mostly is prosecuting workers' comp claims.
Awesome. So I'm going to pretend, and it's not really pretending, I'm going to pretend I don't know much about workers' compensation. So our viewers, maybe the first question they might have is, well, how do I even know if I have a workers' comp case? Who do I need to report an accident to if I get in an accident at work? How's that work?
Okay, so if you get injured on the job, you have an obligation within 24 hours to tell your supervisor you got hurt. It's usually not an issue because you're working next to your supervisors. Yeah. They see it. That flips the responsibility over to the employer to contact their workers' compensation insurance company within 30 days.
Okay.
Let's just say it's Hartford. Hartford would then call you the injured worker. They would open what's called a notice of injury, and your claim's opened. You've got 2 years actually to ultimately pursue it. There's a 2-year statute from the date of accident. But to be safe, you want to do what the law says, which is tell your employer immediately.
Okay. If you're quote unquote within the workers' compensation system, how do you figure out which doctors to see or where to go or how to get treatment?
Okay, and this is one of my big complaints, and one of the reasons Florida is the 49th worst state in the nation. You don't pick your doctors.
Okay.
When I started doing that, if you came to me, I'd say, Dr. Jones, your chiropractor for your back, so-and-so's the neurologist, the orthopedic surgeon, the neurosurgeon. I would send that note to the employer, and those were your doctors. We'd actually ask the client, like, you had anybody in your family treat with somebody? And they go, yeah, well, that's who it'd be. Now they've got a gatekeeper. You've got to go to the primary care physician. It's always CentraCare in Central Florida usually. Urgent Care, U.S. Health Works, and that starts the process. And only if they put it in writing on a piece of paper, you need an MRI, you need to see an orthopedic, can you get to a specialist? That's one of the main reasons I get hired is they're stuck at the PCPs. But they pick your doctor. You are entitled to a one-time change of physician.
Okay.
But they pick that doctor too. So that makes it very difficult.
Okay. So how does somebody know when it's time to consult with a workers' comp lawyer, or if it's worthwhile to pursue a case with a workers' comp lawyer? How does somebody know that?
So I talk to people all the time that may call me the day they got hurt, and I'll say, when you smell a rat, you'll know when you need me.
Okay. Something's
gone wrong. The employer's treating you differently. The doctor's not treating you well. You're not getting a check. Things aren't right. Ultimately, clients come to lawyers when they're being denied benefits, are afraid they're going to lose their job, or they're not getting the right care. It's a combination of all three of those things, Kim, that really get you.
So when somebody is in the work comp system, you mentioned a check. So will somebody that's filed a workers' comp claim, will they be seeing a check in addition to or in substitute of their regular paycheck?
Good question. You're entitled to 2 benefits in workers' comp, medical and money. Unlike the cases you prosecute with pain and suffering and loss of enjoyment of life, not in any state in the union. So even if you're a quadriplegic and can't move, they pay you nothing for the loss of your enjoyment of life. You can't walk, you can't spend time with your family. It's a very tough system, but you get money and you get medical. That's it. Let me talk about the money a little bit. You got to be taken off of work by that authorized physician, and that's the trick. Because
off work completely?
One of 2 things. You get paid 2 ways. One, the doctor says you're completely off of work. I've done surgery on you. You're off work for 2 months. You get 66% of your wages. So if you make the math easy. You make $1,000 a week, you get $666. Number 2, well, let's say I represent a carpenter and they say no lifting over 10 pounds. He goes back to the job site and the doctor says you can work 40 hours a week, but can only lift 10 pounds. And the boss goes, your tool belt weighs 20 pounds. We don't have light duty work. You stay home, but you get 64%. So that's on my $1,000 scenario, $640. The last one I call the blend. Unfortunately, this is what's tough in Florida. Let's say you're a welder making $1,000 a week at Disney. you're light duty and they've got work for you, then you come back to work, and if they pay you $640, folding pizza boxes at Tomorrowland, that's all you get.
Okay.
And it's frustrating because, Frank, I was making $1,000 a week working 40 hours a week as a welder.
Right.
Why do I get that? Welcome to Florida. I can't change that.
Gotcha. So once somebody's in the comp system, they're receiving care. Let's say the doctor says they're well or they're able to go back to work. What happens to their case? Is their case over with? Do they just go back to work and everything's back to normal, or how does that work?
It depends on the employer. If you're released full duty, then you're full duty. You should go back and do the job you were doing. The issue is that the doctors that are in the insurance company world, their authorized doctor that they pick, that they send 70 or 80 people a month to, say you're full duty. The way I challenge that is we do a one-time change. We get another doctor that unfortunately they pick, and I got one crazy eight called an IME, an independent medical exam, with a doctor of our choosing that can make recommendations, but they can't treat. So you go to Dr. 1 and he says, no back surgery. You go to Dr. 2, no back surgery. I might send him to a physical medicine doctor, a neurologist who will say, I'm making this up,
right,
he needs chiropractic treatment on his low back, he needs trigger point injections, he needs epidurals, he needs traction, he needs water aerobics at the YMCA, and go to the carrier and say, do these things. And what you're trying to do is change the course or direction of the claim away from just a surgical analysis.
Gotcha.
And if that doctor gives you light duty, then you should be back receiving checks, staying home, and getting well. So that's the only defense I've really got in the statute.
Okay. So if somebody was interested in hiring you or some other workers' compensation lawyer, how did you get paid as the lawyer? What do they need to do to make that happen?
Gotcha. So there's no money up front. You don't pay me as you go along. If anybody's had the horror of hiring a lawyer, a divorce lawyer or something where you get monthly bills, just like you.
Right.
Number one, the carrier will pay my fee if I obtain a benefit. And so let's say I had a hearing last week, believe it or not, on Zoom. If they deny a benefit and I go and get it, and they were denying a surgery, and I got it, the client gets the surgery, and the carrier pays my fee.
Awesome.
It's a separate hearing where I go and say, Judge, I spent 30 hours getting this client the benefit that was denied, then I get my money from them. If, in many cases settle, it's 25% at the end. It's different than an auto accident, 30%, 40% in a jury trial. But that's at the end. The last thing is, it's unique because every attorney's fee, whether I get paid from the carrier or at the settlement, has to be approved by the judge of compensation of claim, and the client has to file what's called a motion for approval of attorney's fee. It is completely above board. There's no hidden fees or anything because I can't get paid unless the judge approves it.
Gotcha. Okay. When somebody settles a comp case, does that mean it's the end of the road for them? They're back to work. Their case is completely over, or if they develop problems later, can they come back?
Great question, because up until 1994, you could settle the money part of your case, but the medicals would stay open the rest of your life as long as you go once a year. That changed. So when you settle your workers' comp claim, I tell my clients this is a divorce from the employer and the insurance company. They will pay no future care. And a lot of what I do is plan how else to get care, because the number one reasons clients settle cases is they don't like their doctors. And I'm not going to say it on where we publish this, but they don't like their doctor. They want to go see their wife's chiropractor. They want to go on their health insurance because there's no pre-existing clauses. I have 5 or 6 doctors that when I settle the case, I give them their names because their bedside manner's better. They want to help.
Yeah.
It's not a mission control, get you back to work, nothing's wrong with you, which unfortunately I deal with constantly.
You mentioned something that I've never thought about before. Once a person settles their work comp case, and if they still have their group health coverage from their employer, can they then use that to go get health care?
Absolutely. And one of the analysis is, are you on your spouse's health insurance? Once that case is closed under the Affordable Health Care Act, there's no pre-existing clause. They could actually go back to the insurance company's doctor if they want. Obamacare also is another option. You can only enroll from November 1st to December 15th. Typically, we get them on Blue Cross Blue Shield. Aetna's another option. But I settled a case a couple of days ago. It's a change of circumstances. And so what we'll do at mediation is get on the phone and apply for Obamacare. It's not a dirty word in my office because it gives my clients, and what we ended up doing, it was a difficult case. My client's actually going to go to the Mayo Clinic up in Jacksonville. And we're out of their doctors. We're going to Shands at the University of Florida. We're going to the Mayo Clinic. Settle it for enough to cover the premiums for a year, cover their house payments for a year. A lot of my settlements are just a plan to bridge the gap to get them better because they don't like their doctors.
That's really smart, really smart. What about someone who's on the job, gets injured by maybe a coworker or somebody else on the job site that doesn't have anything to do with them at all? What are their options in that regard?
And those are the type of cases I send to your way.
Right.
A classic example is you work for Home Depot, you're driving pipes to the job site, and the Coca-Cola truck hits you. I've got the comp claim. This is not the employer. That's something you all could pursue from a personal injury standpoint. But you cannot sue your employer for negligence.
Right.
There's a gross negligence, and gross negligence is a substantial certainty that it was going to happen.
Right.
And it's a very difficult, as you know.
It's
very difficult.
Yeah.
There are times on job sites where there'll be on work and somebody's delivering it and it's a different entity, then you want to look at that third-party case, which is
what we did. Right.
That's what you.
Okay. Anything else that people who just get hurt at work, they need to know that we haven't talked about?
It really depends. I mean, I think a lot of these big guys just sign up everybody to sign them up.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of approach it differently. I think if you look at my reviews, you'll see that, come out of my mouth sometimes, I don't think you need a lawyer. Like if you cut yourself really bad, Kim, and it's a bad injury, but the stitches are going to heal, you don't have any tendon damage, and you're going back to work, you don't need me.
Okay, good. That's refreshing.
No, I mean, you don't need me. And, especially in this scenario, it reminds me a lot of 08 and 09 during the Great Recession. I'm trying to help people get through it. And a lot of times I'll sign people up and just kind of stay back and not surface and help them along the way so that when the hammer does drop and they get let go, furloughed or whatever, I'm there and already on the file. So I've got lots of options. So if they get injured, I'll talk to them for free with you, and we can figure out a game plan. And that's sometimes you don't need me.
Okay, cool. Well, will you share your telephone number and your website address with our viewers?
Yeah, it's frankidson.com, FRANKEIDSON, not Edison like Thomas Edison, and 407-245-2887 is the phone number. And of course, call Kim and he'll give you my number.
And our number again is 407-254-4901. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, whether it's work comp related, car accident related, any of this stuff, please give me a call as well.